Hi, it's Moon, Squire to Moon. I want to talk today about sufficient force and the escalation of force. In Dagorhir, we go by honor-based system, which means that when I hit you, you decide whether that was enough force to take or to consider a hit. Um, and I just want to kind of go over that with a lot of people. If you're in Dag, you hitting somebody, that whether that shot was good enough is not up to you. That's up to the person you hit. So when you're learning to swing a sword at somebody and hit somebody, in Dagorhir at least, you are learning to find the right amount of force that's going to lead to an effect of the most amount of people taking your shots. You want to find a nice, sweet middle ground in force that allows the most amount of people to take that hit. Now, there are going to be extremes on either end. Some guy might be extra tough or thick-skinned and might not feel your shot, or somebody might be super, super small or just feel shots more easily than others. You want to find that good middle ground. Well, I don't have an answer for that specifically, but I want to go over how you get, at least try to get to that point. At least locally, if you spend most of your time fighting at a local park or a local realm, you're gonna fight people on a pretty regular basis. You'll get an idea for what force most of the people in your local area are gonna take. That's a great starting point. But remember, it's just practice. Most of the realm stuff is practice to go to events. Now, that might have changed. At least locally, we practice in Twin River Forest to go to events and fight. So everything we're doing, at least that I try to do, and I try to teach other people to do, is practice is preparing you to go to have more fun at events, meet more people, be more part of the overall community. Now, when you're doing that, you get in this, or at least I do, and I know a lot of people I've talked to do, they get in the habit of calibrating their strikes to their realm. So when they go to an event, like say we go up to Middlemarch, they're a very big realm. There's some hard hitters out of Middlemarch. And when you go to that realm and fight, say, one of their melees, or you go to one of their events, their calibration might be set a little higher. That doesn't mean you need to just ramp your stuff up to 10, but it means you may need to hit harder. Now, that's not always the safest thing, especially if you're a red fighter. If you're a red fighter, you need to be very careful in how you push up that level of calibration. One of the best ways to go about doing this is just go to events. So if you're fighting around, like in my example, I fight in Finger Forest, I calibrate most of my fighting to kind of whatever the most common events are. So if I go to Olympics, I go to Olympics every year. I try to. This year it's going to be a little different because of the stupid plague that's going around. But I calibrate most of my stuff as if I was fighting in Middlemarch. Because most people, everywhere I've been or every event I've gone, take that calibration, take that hit. And so when I'm fighting, that's what I want to go for. So the easiest way to do this is to go to an event and fight. And slowly raise your calibration. Slowly hit a little harder until people at that event take it regularly. Now, you might be right on. You might be in a realm that fights at that intensity and has that level of calibration, and it's perfect. Don't change it. And that's good. That's great. Now that part's covered, the basic calibration of throwing a shot, that's up to your opponents, not you. You can just raise it to meet it or lower it to meet it. Find a nice sweet spot that's all going to be up to you and who you're fighting with. Now we're going to talk about force escalation. Now, the way that I've always done this and the way I've told people is if you hit somebody and you think it's sufficient and they don't take it, maybe it wasn't sufficient. That's my first go-to. Maybe I didn't hit them as hard as I think I did. Maybe it wasn't a good shot. Maybe it was a glance shot. Maybe I hit them in armor. I don't know. But my first thought is I was the problem in that. I'm going to work on it a little better. I'm going to hit a little harder. Just a little bit. Just add a little bit on there. All right, cool. Usually that solves it. And I get to think that person was super honorable and that was right. I messed up on that. Usually that's what it was. It was a glance or something. Now, there are cases where it wasn't. Maybe somebody has a lot thicker skin. Maybe they're wearing armor. You're going to have to dial that up. You have to do it in a constructive manner, especially if you're using red. But then you're going to come across people every once in a while, stop that, who aren't playing within the spirit of the rules. When that happens, we don't want to go and confront somebody right off the bat. We don't want to go find a herald right off the bat. We want to make sure that that's what's happening. So you're going to escalate your force a little higher. We're not blasting somebody. This is not you throwing your big ass red stick into their back as a form of justice. We're not here to hurt people. We're here to fight and have fun and play a game. When you're fighting that big dude and you get mad and you think he's not taking your shots, well, that's possible. But let's assume first that we're not hitting hard enough. Maybe they have armor. Maybe they have a gambeson on underneath their garb. Maybe they're just a little thick-skinned. Maybe dad knocked them around as a kid. Maybe that pain tolerance is a little higher, or they're not feeling. Man, you'd be surprised what you don't feel when you're fighting for 4 hours on a field and you've gotten attacked by 3 people. There are times where I get hit so many times I can't calculate it. I'm just like, I'm dead. Or I get hit once really hard and someone hits me in the leg, so I take that arm shot, but I didn't feel that leg shot because it hit me at the same time because I got nailed real hard in the arm. I'm like, oh God. And I missed that leg shot. Now, that person's probably going to hit me harder. Good for him. And I prefer that instead of coming up. He can come up to me afterwards and be like, hey, I hit you in the leg. And that's even better. But if he doesn't have the chance to, he doesn't know me, maybe that's not something happens. I like that communication, but not everybody does that. He'll hit me a little harder. And the chances of me missing are a lot less. But if people don't take your shots, that's, in my mind, giving consent. If they call light, they ignore your shot, that in the game that's an honor-based system where we all play by the same rules ideally, that I feel is a consent for you to hit them harder. Now, if you're going around and finally you're giving your all and people aren't taking your shot, then we need to find a herald. Somebody's blowing off shots. It's not going the way it should be. A lot of times you might feel that you need to go to herald before that. Honestly, do it. Go to herald whenever you feel you need to. That's what they're there for. They volunteer, they put the time in, and they want to help the game be better. And I think you helping out and going and telling them when you see something wrong is helping the game out. You need to do that. But we don't want to go up and start blasting people. We don't want to take out the big stick of justice, the heavy stick to go beat somebody. We want to go through the proper route of doing it.